Hello, my name is Jamil from TheSolidPodcast, and today I'm joined with Maddante. So, Maddante, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm very well, Solid. Thank you very much for having me here. And yes, for anyone that needs a quick kind of intro to myself, Maddante, the killer is there, but we take that out whenever we're kind of working on things, just because we want to be advertiser friendly. But Valorant, VCT, Game Changers caster, and all things shooter games related. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here again. Thanks very much so much for having me, Solid.
Well, thank you so much for being here. To be honest, as anyone that comes on here, like I've had a lot of great people. You're actually the first caster ever,
Mm,
obviously. And it's nice. It's nice to get different insights because, like I told you before, like we've had
mm.
like org owners, we have content creators, we've had like content directors, professional players or semi-professional players, and it's nice to have that insight from a caster. Um, Obviously, you've casted in games like Tekken as well
Mm.
and Valorant. Can you like just delve into this like sort of games? Like, what are your sort of experiences for casting a game like Tekken, going from a fighter to an
Yep.
FPS? Can you delve into that?
So there's the nice thing about casting for a lot of things, particularly as someone that is predominantly play by play. Just I'm a very excitable person, and I get very into the games that I'm kind of watching to the point that I have at least been quoted a couple times. Can we do it without the commentary? And that was before I was doing commentary. So that kind of in and of itself really highlighted to me just like the passion that's there for it going from a game like shooter going from like Valorant to Tekken. Thankfully, there are quite a lot of kind of good overlaps that you start to really gauge with in terms of just overall pacing, and that's pretty much universal for whatever game you go to, whether it is battle royale, fighting games, or shooters. You're going to have the explosive kind of start, maybe just like something kind of fast paced that begins the match, and then everything will kind of pace it down, and that's ubiquitous across kind of all video games. The battle royales, you'll have the hectic start when everyone's running for the guns.
Mm.
The shooters, it's just the round start, and then fighting games, it's usually just if someone kind of throws out a move at the start of the round. So you start to realize very quickly, looking at it more analytically, that while there are very clear fundamental differences, you cannot get a Valorant player into Tekken and expect that to be
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
smooth transition in any way. Casting over it and commentating over it, you do start to realize that there are similar kind of rules and kind of expectations to go in. And once you highlight that, especially if you're kind of working with other casters and such that also understand that, the pacing gets a lot easier to understand to the point that you can mix and match kind of the casting styles for the games across those kind of various genres. And it does, at least for me, create a pretty comfortable structure that gets then edited and changed bit for bit depending on the game that I'm casting.
Okay, yeah, you nailed that answer.
Mm,
To be honest, so you say like you mentioned like you do play by play, so because you got that
mm.
sort of like energy. Were you like play by play from like the very start of your career? Did you transition, or how did you like even decide? Yes, I want to do play by play and not color.
So very much the first time that I ever properly did casting was genuinely because back at my old university that I studied at when I was doing computing, we were doing kind of 10 mans for like Valorant quite often. Unfortunately, there was just 11 people, and well, you can't really do 10 mans with 11 people. So I got bored. I just kind of thought to the idea of, well, what if I do just commentate over this on my own? And because obviously you're commentating on your own, you have to do both. You have to do the play by play, and you have to then kind of jump over and kind of do the analysis for the round.
It's pretty
And I've
difficult.
just it's tough. It's tough to do that. And one thing that it did allow me to kind of learn, I think, quicker than maybe some other casters that just kind of start off with any sort of like background beforehand. Because again, like I literally just I hit play. It was just on Twitch. It was just on the stream to like 4 or 5 people that were just kind of having it on the side. So it was very much independent and individual, which allowed me to gain experience with both, and also then kind of jumping back to the pacing. It let me learn, which is a big thing for casting, which is to when to be quiet and kind of let the rounds play out themselves, because you don't necessarily need to fill in the space every single second of every single round. That downtime, even in a duo casting situation, is really helpful towards a broadcast. And I think as I then started to like apply for jobs, and I started getting kind of selected just off the back of those like 10-mans. The people I was being paired with were usually a bit more analytical, a bit more kind of stats oriented and focused, and they were also just a little bit less excitable than I
Yeah.
was. So off the back of that, naturally, there's one person I do want to shout out. He doesn't cast anymore because he actually jumped off to do music. But a big shout out to a fellow co-caster, Bigfoot, that he goes by. One of the easiest people that I have ever worked with to this day, and he was someone that was very good at, I would be like screaming my head off, oh my god, like the shots were insane, and then he would just go, and the reason that was insane, and he would be so good at bringing the pace right back down to like a slow sort of methodical to like a methodical style. So it was very easy to kind of work that through. And so just off the back of that experience, hybrid is something I'm very comfortable doing, and just whenever you're working with new casters, you find hybrid kind of makes things a little bit easier for both of you. But play by play, especially, kind of looking towards the VCT stuff and angles like that, it very much did just become something that I could talk fast enough about to kind of keep the pace. That then the analytical side of the other casters that I would work with would kind of come through. So naturally, one would bring out the other.
Right. Yeah, that's so. Your answer actually important. You give so much detail, and I love it. It's actually great. Like so, I haven't heard like you just crushed my questions. I'm just like, wow. I'm just like fair play.
I am very detailed, and I have been told it's. I do apologize if there's
Oh no
maybe any
no.
kind of follow-up questions that I'm already getting
Yeah, you
to, or
are.
I'm already kind of knocking the dominoes down.
That's the thing. In my head, I'm like, oh, okay. What do you do about this? Then you're already answer. It's like you're reading my mind, and I'm not even getting. It's not even coming my mouth to even ask you the question. It's just fair play. But what I did was gonna say, well, what I was gonna say is like, what would you say is the best game you've like casted in? You said you casted in Tekken. What Tekken was
Yep.
that?
So I have never touched a Tekken game properly until 7. That's a bit of a lie. My brother used to absolutely destroy me on Tekken 5 when I was like 6.
Okay.
And he was pretty damn good, I will say. Tekken 7 was the first game I ever like started like playing, and then Tekken 8 was the first one that I ever commentated. And because of that, I kind of fell in love with the fighting game circuit, and Tekken will always be the game that I look towards as kind of my start and my door into that entire realm. Because the FGC, for anyone that doesn't really know it, is an entire subset of esports, in my opinion, just with the attitudes and the playstyles and the personalities that exist within it are so different, at least from my experience, than any other type of genre of game.
Yeah, I personally played a bit of Tekken myself.
Mm.
I started in 8 not too long ago. I think I started around season 2.
Yes. Oh, rough entry point, I must say.
You'd say that, but I was like beginner ranks, so I didn't really know like what was
Yes,
going
yeah, yeah.
on. But I feel like even now it is in like an upwards trajectory. Like they're doing
I
nice
would say so.
updates. Season 2. I look when I look back on season 2. Know that the knowledge I have like gained because I work my way up the ranks. I work decent way up the ranks, like Tekken King at the
Yeah.
moment. It's not too high, but I understand. When I look back on season 2, I'm like, oh damn, that's what the guys went through. I wasn't really a
No,
part of that. But yeah, it's
I started all the way down in like the Vanquisher beginner ranks as well. So I've done my similar climb, and that was very much that climb for me was very much encouraged by I at least want to have some level of a rank to, as much as you don't need a rank to kind of legitimize like your understanding of games, it does help. It does
yes,
help, obviously,
100%.
to say, it does, as you say, like if someone is commentating about a game, you are, let's face it, it's not necessary at all, but you are more likely to at least believe that they know what they're talking about if a Tekken King is talking about it in comparison to like Brawler or Vanquisher. It's not always the case, of course. There are some fantastic people at the lower ranks that like understand a game to like fundamental levels that other people would only dream of at the higher ranks. But as I said, it helps build the legitimacy.
Yeah, I tell you, like I go into Tekken Fight Lounge. I watch like a Vanquisher versus a Brawler. It's so entertaining. It's
Isn't
so
it?
it really is because you can see. No offense, but it's kind of like they've no idea what they're doing. They're doing. It's like they're playing
Mm,
the. It's like they're playing a different game compared to like the higher ranks. It's so entertaining. It's so fun to watch. Because I
hmm.
think that's when I was having a lot of fun. But when you play in higher ranks, it's so not. It's like you have to sweat your like you have to really sweat off. It's kind of yeah,
Fighting games in particular, I mean, again, like Valorant, I would say, like, kind of is my main game. It wasn't like my first shooter by any means, but any game will obviously have that, the skills, the ranks exist obviously for the reason to highlight that skill disparity. But FGC is I would say, I mean, I have a couple of clips that I like, even just on like the replay system that AMD have on the computer. I have a couple of clips of like combos and stuff that I did when I was like Vanquisher, when I was like Brawler. And I still have those saved just because I look back on them and go, geez, the amount that I have changed and the amount that I have developed in terms of my skill. Like the movement's cleaner, the combos are just a little bit crisper.
yeah,
And it does really highlight that possibility of how much you can develop your skills. And again, every game can do it. I think fighting games, because it's one-on-one, it's you against an opponent, there's no other excuses. If you lose a match in a fighting game, and I will say this, if you lose a match in a fighting game, it was because of you.
yeah,
Occasionally,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
sure, maybe, okay, a character that you don't know, a matchup that you don't understand, there's a strategy that you're just not working around. But if you lose in a 1v1 fighter, it's on you.
yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
Mm,
But like you compared to like Valorant or something, it is more like obviously team based.
hmm.
But yeah, I totally agree. So how hard would you say is it to really get into casting, like especially in the UK, like considering of the ecosystem, like in most titles, maximum
Hmm.
casters would be two. Am I right? Or
Yep.
yeah, so if there's maximum casters is two, and especially in the ecosystem in UK today, do you think it's difficult in 2026?
I I will not mince words. This is a tough industry to be in, especially
Yeah,
for like casters and such. And that is because, and I would say that it's not exactly the same. There are obviously going to be like big differences. Casting and content creation, just in general, are two things that are very difficult to get into and do support each other massively. It's why you look at like some of the casters that you do see on the VCT scene in particular are like content creators from other games. I think the biggest example of that is if you look at Lothar, like a very well-known, very respected caster in Valorant. He used to be a Hearthstone player. And for anyone that doesn't know what Hearthstone is, it's Blizzard's card game based on World of Warcraft.
mm,
But he used to be like a professional player of Hearthstone. And then when Valorant came out, he transitioned to Valorant. But even his title, it still had HS as his like tag in a lot of on his social medias and such, because he's built that from Hearthstone. And being honest, yeah, getting into casting, because of how much people want to do it, because of how passionate this entire industry is, especially people wanting to get into it, it is not an easy feat. It is not an easy task, and it does require a decent bit of work and a
yeah.
and a huge chunk of luck.
I've actually heard it before. The luck aspect is because I was speaking to other people about this before, like
Mm.
professional players, and they were saying to a point there's a bit of favoritism that goes in this industry of like who gets to be at some events, or I'm gonna pick this guy, a bit of like sort of nepotism, um,
Yes.
and that's what I've heard. I'm not saying like they're wrong, but like I haven't actually
Hmm.
seen it for myself. In terms of my experience, I've never experienced that. But that's what I've heard a lot. It's very consistent. I've heard you say it just now with like in terms of like luck. Would the luck aspect go into like nepotism and favoritism sort of thing, or is that what you
I
mean?
I would say so. So nepotism was a word I used to use that word. I'm now pretty comfortably kind of reversed myself and kind of removed myself away from that term, because at the end of the day, and especially from like a production standpoint, right? This I think is true with any sort of like content, any sort of creation, where I wouldn't say it is nepotism, but people that you can trust to help deliver the best product you want to make. And at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. Any
Right.
cast is any cast or any production that you do, it's meant to go out to an audience. It's meant to obviously be engaging, be entertaining. You are going to pick the people that you know can confidently do their best to make that project as high quality as possible. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't kind of reach out and kind of work with new people. You work with new people, you learn different ideas and perspectives, understandings, even for like the production software that's used. I've had some people that I've worked with before as directors that do entirely different or that have entirely different, I guess, attitudes towards the software and how they use it. And sometimes there is a little bit of a teething issue because the casters aren't used to getting the feed from this location. The casters aren't used to getting this software being the main one. Like for example, the easiest one I could think of was one of the events I did recently. I have basically fundamentally either used Discord or like vMix calls. They were wanting the audio from TeamSpeak, and that was something that I had to very quickly learn how TeamSpeak worked because it was just something that I had never used. So there's a lot of aspects to it. I would not feel comfortable saying it is nepotism, but if you have worked with people that can produce a high quality product that you really are proud of, it makes sense to go with them again.
Okay. Yeah, that's I follow that 100%.
So,
That's fair
someone
play.
builds someone does some renovations to your house and they're good renovations, you'll just go with them again. Someone
Loyalty,
you
yeah.
do you yeah, why would you? And sometimes it is a good thing to do, and I'm not saying there isn't benefits to it,
Okay.
but return on investment and things, why would you risk it? Why would you risk getting a new talent on or getting a new name on whenever you know that this person is reliable, that this person will show up on
It's like
time?
that guarantee of like.
Yes,
Yeah.
guarantee would be the best word. Is just that person's going to show up. You know that you don't have to worry about that because, look, I mean, for anyone that hasn't worked on like productions or anything, they do look simple. There are a million moving parts. There are so many things that could go wrong. And if you're just working with people that you can trust, that can make life so much easier.
Yeah, totally right on that one. I can't argue with that.
Mm.
Um, would you say like what do you think is like the current state of the esports ecosystem in the UK? Would you say? Like,
I go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say like I think it's an upward trajectory because of previous events or whatnot, and also we've got
Mm.
Valorant Masters right now. I've seen Valorant Masters. It's going insane. It's blowing up. It's going crazy.
Oh
We've had
yeah.
DreamHack as well this year. So we've had DreamHack. We have Valorant Masters, and both in terms of execution, we execute perfectly.
I don't think I would disagree with that very much. I mean, there's of course like a couple of minor teething issues and things, just because the UK is a little bit smaller and
Yeah,
isn't maybe as well equipped to handle things, particularly, like Masters Santiago. I think just in comparison, of course, Santiago is just going to have a little bit more pre-built that kind of supports that ecosystem already. But as you said yourself, Masters London seems to be near enough flawless. I've not been hearing many negative things at all. It breaks my heart that I'm not going to be able to go down because I'm based up in Scotland, so it would have been probably the easiest Masters for me to attend.
yeah,
Scheduling conflicts and such just got in the way, so I'm going to try and get myself to a different Masters, probably just in a different country. But I would be in agreement. I think there's been some nerves and worries about the esports scene as a whole, and the ecosystem is a very maybe not fragile one, but a very tepid one. Sometimes, it seems all positive and sometimes it seems all negative. I would really agree with you on that, Solid, that it is on an upwards trajectory, and especially with DreamHack and with Masters coming through, we will then have that blueprint for other companies, other orgs, other events to kind of go, okay, well, if Riot can make this work and London only kind of has good things about it, other companies, other organizations, of course, will be encouraged to join. So I think it's a very bright future.
100%. The only thing I can say, it may be a bit of a contradiction, but I can
Mm,
say, as much as Valorant Master seems flawless, but I don't know if you saw the issue. One of the issues that I think is kind of a big one, and a lot of people complain about, is the ticketing. Um, they didn't prioritize residents of the UK as they did for
hmm
France. France, they prioritized the people with like French residency. They
Yes.
made it out to open to everyone. Hence the reason why we had the issues with resellers. So a £50 ticket wouldn't be £50. A 50 like it would be 100, 150 because
Yeah, yeah,
they'll bot it. They'll literally bot the tickets, and it's just kind of
yeah.
like it's a bit unfair. I can't even find. I literally want to find one ticket for grand finals. I
Oh,
just
impossible. Good luck.
yeah, it's just not happen. It's just not happening. I went to France unable to get a ticket.
It's that. That's as much as I have my kind of thoughts on it. It's unfortunately just like ticket venues and kind of resellers that goes so much more up to even like my understanding kind of collapses about it. As someone from the UK that has had, I don't think there's any problems with this. As someone who has had issues with Ticketmaster in particular, and just that kind of model to getting the tickets out, it could have definitely been done a little bit better. I think for the most part, we knew that those tickets were going to sell. We knew, or I say we, they knew the tickets were going to sell. They knew that the demand for Masters London was going to be absolutely astronomical, which it was, to the
Yeah,
point that, to the point that it was going to be difficult either way. I absolutely do think it could have been done a little bit better, but I am someone that's very hesitant to give criticism if it's not constructive, and I don't know enough about like the model and the decision making and the planning that goes into that to confidently say this was bad because I don't have the follow up, which is this is how it can be done better.
I respect that. I respect that
Yeah.
100%. I can't argue that at all. Um, do you think like color casting and like play by play? Do you think it's like someone's if say let's say if I want to become a caster, do you think
Yep.
it suits if my personality doesn't suit, is it really a personality thing? Is it like destiny that I'm become a color, or is it like how do I really get into it, as in is it really depend on your personality and how you speak and how you communicate, or
I'd say that's kind of 90% of it. Yeah. I mean, I get I get because I don't really have a separate kind of like account or like brand or anything for my personal life kind of versus Maddante. I probably should, to be honest. It's probably long overdue at this stage. But I get questions like quite frequently from people going like, "Oh, how do you do it?" Which is the biggest thing I think any
yeah,
creator or anything. How do you get into this? And it is the least satisfying answer. And believe me, I hated it when people told it to me as well. Do it. You just do it. I'm so sorry that like if you want like a kind of magic ticket or if you want like some big answer that hasn't been said before. But again, to like really kind of hard it out, my beginnings were I was the 11th man in my Val 10 squad, and then because of that, I was like, well, what if I commentate over it? I never had any belief that that was going to go anywhere. Never had any belief. It was only actually when a pal of mine messaged me
yeah,
and went, "Hey, you might remember this solid because they've been rebanded now. But back when they were the NUL National University Esports League, they were massive for like all the universities in the UK, and they were doing like a hiring call. I would have never looked at it. Like I would have never even dreamed of thinking that was something I could do. It was only because a pal of mine just messaged and went, "Hey, I seen this," and I was like, you know what, we'll apply for it. And then ever since then, it was just kind of fortune after fortune, and then making that work kind of come through. Regarding the specific question particularly, people find out what's better for them. I kind of knew I was a play-by-play just because I love the fast pace. I love kind of seeing the rounds just play out as they go. And other people I knew were far more kind of stats oriented. I believe if you are someone that loves the nitty gritty, that loves the
yeah,
not necessarily the spreadsheets and such, but if you love the data, if you love seeing like, oh, this team, if a post plant conversion rate makes you interested, you will very likely be a color caster. If you're not as concerned with that and you just want to see people click heads really damn well, you'll likely lean more into play by play. I think that is even the same with like League of Legends, you know. The
yeah.
analysts, they'll know how the store works, and I don't know my MOBAs that well, but they'll know how the store works. They'll know how, you know, the utility and the abilities are going to work. The play-by-play just wants to see some really damn cool things happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's funny you say that, because when you look at a game like Tekken, for instance, that like
Mm.
stats are kind of forced upon you. like in terms of frame
Yes.
data and whatnot. There is no frame data for Valorant. You know,
No.
obviously to a point in terms of stats. Obviously, you got like headshot percentage and like accuracy and maybe
Mm.
to a point, but like in terms of stats, like it's so for a caster to be so well informed in terms of what when you're plus, when you're minus, like it's so many things. Like oh, it's an unblockable. Like it's so many things.
It, fighting games in particular, I mean, I'm glad you kind of you brought that back to it, because yeah, fighting games is probably the biggest genre of game that play by play in color does break down a little bit,
Yeah,
because both commentators are going to need to know enough about the game, and they're going to need to know kind of the opposite thing, because as you said, you to know everything about a fighting game, particularly Tekken, near enough impossible. Professional players have been playing that game for, we're at what, Tekken's 30th anniversary. There is probably some interaction that players since Tekken 3's days don't know exists in Tekken 8. There is probably something that you could ask a Tekken 8 player in terms of like, this move hits this move. What's the frame data? Professional player that's won Evo 6 times, Arslan Ash, he might not be able to say that off the top of his head. And for the casters to then know that, they don't necessarily need to know everything either. They just need to know enough that the play is it interesting and exciting. Here is why. And then the play-by-play, I would say the job is just to really get that hyped up, because there has been some Tekken sets that should be absolutely incredible. The casters are very methodical, and both of them are very stats focused. They're very kind of lower toned, and everything's a bit calmer. And I think one of the comments I seen on one of YouTube was like, oh, this would be a great set, but the casters basically are talking about golf rather than Tekken. And as savage as I
huh?
think the criticism was, I think it was fair.
Right. Wait, golf. How?
They were just very kind of, it was like, oh, and he's launched him, oh, and he's
Oh,
blocked and punished kind of thing. There was no like, oh, he's read that and he's none kind of that upper kind of level that brings the excitement, that brings the enthusiasm. It was very just kind of monotone and matter of fact, which isn't a bad thing. But when you're talking about like fighting games in particular, you really want to have that impact and that energy. And sometimes even both casters will get that impact and that energy, even though typically it's usually expected to be play by play is a bit more hype.
yeah,
Color is a bit more focused and a bit more detail oriented.
yeah. Of course. Would you how long have you been casting Tekken for so far?
Tekken is now basically since Tekken 8 came out. So that was, I think we're
24.
three, yeah, 20, it's not 23 because we're in season 3 now. Maybe oh no, we're in
20,
season 3 now. Yes, you're right. Yes,
24,
sorry.
right? Yeah.
20, yes, 20, sorry, I'm silly. I started from 0. Yes, so
No worries. No worries.
24, 25, and then yeah, 26. So I started casting Tekken 8. I think my first cast in Tekken 8 was August 2024. So we're just about hitting that 2-year mark now.
Nice.
I've only, yeah, it's been good. I've only ever kind of worked with one caster, and that's exactly the same thing. Why? I don't believe it's anything more than just we know we work well together,
Yeah.
and sometimes if you have
Synergy.
casters that don't gel, you can struggle.
So, what would you say is like the best game you've casted during your time? What was this like? Really, where you really put on your A game, the really amount of energy, you know?
Uh, that'll be, so there's locals that we have in Scotland, kind of pretty close to where I live. I might as well give them a big shout out. Burn to Fight. They do kind of locals and stuff kind of around kind of the upper Scotland area.
Yeah.
Kind of around like Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, and Dundee, those kind of regions. And whenever I kind of got there, it was my first time ever actually going to a fighting game event at all. I'd never been to like a LAN before. I'd never competed. I just wanted to see what the buzz was like.
Yeah.
Managed to place, I think, out of a tournament of about 70, 80 odd people, I think I placed 9th? No, 13th. 13th the first time. And whenever I was very nervous because I didn't go with anyone, I was on my own. And then they were doing a very rotating the casters kind of style. So basically,
Yeah.
like one match would finish, they'd rotate the casters. And I, being cheeky, I went up and I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I sit on the chair?" And they were like, "Absolutely, go on ahead as long as you're not playing any games." And because it was the first time, because I was so new, I was absolutely I was shouting it down. I was trying to, of course, maintain the audio levels, but things that were hype, I was absolutely going like above and beyond. I was turning it up to 11 for, and the co-caster that was with me at the time, I do forget his tag, unfortunately. But he looked at me and he properly was like, "You're really into this," and I was like, "Are you seeing what's happening on the screen? Of course I'm into this." And as soon as that
Yeah.
happened, then that was it. And then for the rest of the series, that was an absolute blast. So I think that was the moment that I really gave my all just for it being my first shot at Tekken.
What sort of when you're like casting tech, what sort of things really shock you? Like, would it be like, oh, this guy hit two perfect electrics, or this guy blocked a hell sweep, for instance? Like, what is the thing that really, when you see something, you're like, oh damn, that was insane. What really gets to you? Like, because when you expect you expect a pro to hit the perfect electric.
Yeah.
So what is the things that you're like? I feel like blocking a hell sweep. I think there's a 10 frame startup. I'm pretty sure. It is pretty fast. It
Yes.
pretty much comes out of nowhere. It comes out of thin air, and it's kind of. But that's just me. I mean, I'm not the greatest at the game. But what
Mm.
shocks you in Tekken?
So if we're going from, I'll kind of give you, I'll look at it from a pro side and then a bit more kind of the LAN side, the Tekken King angle. So from the pro side, those players are that damn good that even like hell sweeps and stuff like that are reactable. People are very comfortable kind of taking, because if you are good at your input, so if anyone doesn't know what hell sweeps are, the entire point is they are a low that are pretty damn fast and they knock you off your feet, and then they create what's called okazemi, which means the opposing player that's been hit by the hell sweep has to try and stand back up and try and kind of deal with that pressure that comes off the back of it. Watching professionals that know key moves mess up the punish is always the most interesting thing. So I'll give you the example as a Hwoarang player. As a Hwoarang player, for me, what is a big thing is blocking the hell sweep isn't a big deal. Blocking the hell sweep and panicking for any reason is huge. Anytime that you see a hell sweep that's not punished correctly, you have a million things to talk about there, because you can talk about if the player's a bit nervous, if the player who's like, so we'll go with Kazuya because I would hope everyone knows Kazuya.
Yeah.
The Kazuya player that has survived a blocked hell sweep now has about 5 things to go through in their mind of, do they try the hell sweep again because they can maybe get away with it? Did my opponent just mess up the punish the first time? Does my opponent have no clue what the punish is? Of course, in pro play, that's not really going to be the question.
Yeah.
The pros know down forward 2. Your natural down forward 2 is 15 frames. Most hell sweeps when they're blocked are at least minus 18, so you've got 3 frames of leeway just to knock the Kazuya up into the air, and kind of work with that. So I would say field punishes on the highest level, by far the most interesting. I would say then at the lower level, I think just seeing anyone with really crisp movement. We'll stick on Kazuya as a good example, where
Yeah.
a fantastic Kazuya does have such good movement that you don't necessarily know that the hell sweep is coming. A weaker Kazuya, they need to take a second to get that input. So if anyone doesn't know what the input for hell sweep is, it's forward, neutral, down forward, 4. So you have to flick the stick forward, let it go back to its neutral position, and then hit down forward and 4 at the same time. Professional players have practiced that for thousands, tens of thousands of hours. They know how to do that. Weaker players, they stutter. You can literally see Kazuya like kind of because that forward into neutral is not done so smoothly. So whenever I watch like kind of weaker players, apologies, but players
Yeah.
down at the kind of Vanquisher, seeing that hell sweep come out like that, I'm immediately going, well, you have crisp movement. Maybe your combo game's not up to scratch. Maybe the movement, especially in a 3D fighter like Tekken, the lateral movement
Yeah.
might be a weak spot. But seeing someone with really crisp movement is always really interesting. I think that's what I kind of look at as like the triangle, especially looking at kind of non-professional players.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair play. Because I don't really play Kazuya. I play like Victor. Um.
Yes, shout out to our 2-man. Press 2 and you win.
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
sorry,
see
that's
that.
toxic. I'm sorry, that's toxic.
I
I'm
saw
sorry,
the
that's I
time.
shouldn't say that.
No, I don't. It's not. Yeah.
It's a
Um.
true combo. It's fantastic.
Hey, I've seen people like I've seen people in like Kishin. or at Bushin
Mm.
play Law with easy controls. It's just kind of like even after the buff as well, which is kind of because Law used to be a lot so execution heavy, but now he's
Mm.
not. He's a lot easier to play.
Yes, because
But
he used to have his stance cancels and everything, which was in Tekken 7 and previous that they got rid of in Tekken 8, which is a shame.
yeah, um, but yeah, I like when I didn't really play Kazuya, but I hit a perfect electric once. I was like,
Uh, I've only ever hit one, and I've recently been dedicating like 30 minutes to like an hour in the practice just trying to hit it, and I have
right,
only hit it once. I have never hit Taunt Jet Upper
oh,
on Brian Fear. I
Brian,
don't
yeah,
think I'm ever going to do that. I am a controller player. I don't have like lever like the arcade stick.
yeah,
So I don't know if it's possible. I'm going to use the excuse that it's impossible, and that way I can keep my ego safe. And if
yeah, yeah.
anyone says that it is possible, I'm not going to read that.
Yeah,
So I can continue living in my delusion.
yeah, I actually do it with the D-pad on the PS5 controller.
Oh, nice. See, I do stick. I used to play
Uh,
D-pad, and then I changed over to the stick.
well, fair enough.
I don't know why. I don't know why. That wasn't a natural decision. I think it just one time. I think it was it was for Hwarang's version of not his Hell Sweep, but it's the exact same input for his Skyrocket,
Oh
the one
yeah,
that like launches you like 30 feet in the air.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
just really, really difficult to do on D-pad. So I think that was what kind of convinced me to jump over to the stick on the controller.
Okay, that's fair enough. Um, can you just like walk us through the timeline of your career, like from start to
Mm.
middle to right now?
So okay. Thankfully there's not. Yeah, we can do an abridged version of that pretty easily. So did the Val 10 mans. Got actually then submitted the application to Newell. On the back of this, actually, just for a little bit more context, I did and do still stream to my own channel. Started doing that around 2020 when COVID was happening, when the lockdowns were going on. The reason being, and it is still the absolute goal behind my channel, is just a tiny little corner of the internet to just come in and chill.
Yeah,
That was always the purpose of the streams, and I still maintain that to this day. Is just come in and just kind of have it on the background to chill. Valorant was starting off, then we did the 10 mans, started doing the casting over those 10 mans. Reached out to the Newell, managed to get my gig there. Still eternally grateful to this day. Off the back of that, then people, the names started coming up. The work just kind of continued on. Some people had recommended me for this, or they had seen the actual production, and then were comfortable kind of contacting me and wanting to kind of progress further, just either from their own orgs or such. Casted with a couple of then orgs, both in NA and here in the EU. Some of those orgs are now no longer with us, unfortunately, but a big shout out to them because they were an absolute massive springboard for me, both in terms of my confidence and like learning how to properly network. Because as it may go without saying, but some people are very surprised that this career is very heavy network and like network oriented and kind of
yeah,
building those connections with people. And if you're not able to kind of do that, or kind of develop those relationships, I think that's a big aspect of struggle for some people. I would definitely say.
yeah.
um
Networking is a big thing in esports as a whole.
it's a big it's a big thing anytime. I mean,
Well,
again,
anywhere
any sort of
really.
any sort of creative endeavor, networking. I mean, like, I am not an artist by any means. I cannot draw. I failed that class consistently in school. I could not draw to save my life. But if you're aspiring artist, if you're wanting kind of create like digital drawings or anything, the networking is a massive thing. It's such a big aspect. And I think, if anything, as you said, Solid, it might just be now ubiquitous. You might just have to network regardless of the career path you take, or at least for me, that's kind of the trajectory we might be heading in.
Right. Yeah. What is what would you say like your hobbies? What do you do in your free time?
So I play a lot of video games still. Tekken, Valorant. I do then like the streaming, swimming in terms of
Oh,
kind of like just keeping active. Swimming was absolutely a blast for me in secondary school. Because the rest of the squad, they all played football, and I could play football. I would just get destroyed in football.
yeah.
So I would think of something else to come up. So I, off the back of just when I was very young, I learned how to swim, and it was just a very swimming was very calming to me, and I think it is because just being able just to do the laps back and forth
Yeah.
with very little sort of distraction or anything, it's really, really it's really, really freeing. It's really, really easy to kind of get into it and get lost in it. And as especially someone that with this job and the fact that when I was when I was at uni, I was studying computing. I'm basically never off my screens.
Yeah.
So swimming's pretty damn good for going. I can't be on my screen because I'll electrocute myself. So the phone has to get put away.
Everything.
The everything has to go
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
You
yeah.
basically just have to focus on the swimming, and it's a fantastic thing to kind of keep the mind focused. And I'll also allow any other worries or concerns to kind of slide away because while I'm swimming, while I'm in the pool, I can't do anything about those problems. So there's no point letting them kind of niggle away at me.
Yeah. Are you like the? Would you say you're like the Mark Spitz or something?
No.
What's the
No.
scale? What are we saying? Mark Spitz.
Uh, Mark, we'll go. Mark's Magic will go. Let's see, what can I do? So for anyone that swims, I can only really break this down for people that do at least some level of kind of swimming. I do 60 lengths, so the 25 meters, like the bigger pull. I can do that in an hour. So I basically am doing a length a minute, which comes out to, I believe that is 1.5 kilometers in an hour.
And you wear
So
the hat as well, the cap as well.
I don't wear the swim cap actually, but I probably should invest in that because yeah, I probably should invest in that just because yeah, keeping the hair under chlorine for extended periods of time, it's not good for it long term. So as
Yeah.
much as it is like for like the dynamics and to kind of prevent the drag and the resistance, which is why like the actual professional swimmers do it, probably just be good to keep the hair healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be honest.
I think a lot. I think as soon as they cut off majority of their hair so they can go as fast as
Mm.
possible.
Mm-hmm.
I never really got into like when it comes to like, the Olympic swimming. I think swimming's nice, it's pretty fun. I saw what's that? I don't know one guy, Adam Peaty.
Phelps? Adam
Oh,
P.
you got
Okay,
Phelps
yes,
as
okay, I
well.
was going.
Phelps
Yeah,
is
yeah, Phelps.
American, right? I'm pretty sure.
Phelps is from the States, I believe so, yes.
I used to watch swimming like for the Olympics, and it was kind of like intense. It was kind of like it was kind of good like
Mm,
action because they're going really fast to go one end, then back to the other. It was kind of interesting. I never really got into it like swimming. I never really
mm.
did it in secondary school as well. But yeah, it's kind of the things I wouldn't mind watching. I'll definitely watch it, you know. But I never
I,
really got into it that much.
I would say it's an entertaining sport. I would say definitely just because of the fact that, and again, it's any sport. You watch the professionals do it, and whenever you have an appreciation for it, as someone that's very amateur that does it, just literally does it for a hobby and to kind of keep the fitness at least somewhat up there.
Yeah,
Just I know that I can struggle to, after I've done like a good session of swimming, like my lungs or everything, I'm absolutely coughing myself up or like I'm feeling a little bit shattered. But knowing that there's people that can do what I do in maybe 40 seconds, they do in 12 is insane. Just
yeah,
watching the pace of that. And as you said, the intensity behind it whenever they're like competing against each other, always always interesting to watch. And I think that basically translates to any sport.
yeah. And you kind of remind me as well. Like I, that's what I was saying. Like casting, you play a big part. Like the casting role has a big part,
Mm,
as does every single role within esports. Think about the casting role. Casting role doesn't just apply for esports; it applies for everything. When I'm watching
yeah.
swimming, as much as they go from one end to the other, the casters. The casters, what makes it seem a lot more than what it is. The casters is what
Mm.
brings it alive. So whether it's darts or swimming or whatever it is, or Valorant from Tekken, when I never played a single fighting game in my life, when I first watched Tekken, Pro Tekken, I was just like,
Mhm.
brother, this is insane. It's the casters that make it alive. This is the thing, and you have a big importance. Like your role has a big importance in the industry.
I think the biggest aspect and I think anyone that again I adore what I do, but I think there's some people that maybe at least from my experience, I have had experience with people that are like, oh, they feel a little bit kind of taken for granted as casters because some people are very vocal about, again, we'll go for we'll go for Tekken. If you're watching Evo, you won't actually have the audio on. You'll just have it like on the background. You'll have it on the extra screen just while you're watching something else. And some people have been like, oh, well, is that not a little bit kind of unfair, I guess, is the word that was thrown around, onto the casters. They're trying to make things exciting.
Yeah.
For me, what I found really kind of reinforcing, and what I found actually that gave me a lot of comfort, was casters aren't really there for the people that already understand whatever they're watching to a deep level. If you understand swimming to a deep level, the casters are not going to say anything that blows your mind. They're not going to say anything that you didn't already know. But if you are a bit more amateur, if you're a bit beginner, if you're just kind of getting into it, the casters are going to be a fantastic resource for you to learn what's really good. And we'll go for the Tekken example again. Tasty Steve yells that, oh, the hell sweep wasn't punished. You learn pretty quickly that hell sweep should be punished.
Yeah.
But if you're a Tekken god, if you're god of destruction or something, hell sweeps need to be punished. You don't need Tasty Steve to tell you that. But if you're getting interested in the game, or if you're learning, the casters will be your kind of bread and butter as a fantastic resource to make life a little bit easier. I have nudged my camera. Do apologies.
No
We are
worries,
back.
no worries. Yeah, 100%. When I watch you got Evo upcoming. I think there's one in Paris. I think
Yep.
one in Paris. I'd love to go to that one.
It would be a dream.
It would be sick. I'd love to see, because I don't know if it's just me, but if I'm watching like a stream, whether it's BTT or Blast Premier for like CS, whatever it is, when I'm actually at the stadium, it's so electric. It feels amazing. It's like, if I'm watching it on the stream on my phone, yeah, okay, it feels good. The casting's great. They're making some like good, like they're putting out some good talking points and everything with the cast. But when I hear it in the stadium, I'm hearing the same guy, by the way. It's so much better. It's just 10 times better. Like, it's so.
It always is. It always is.
And if I went to a Valorant event and then the casters weren't speaking, I'm like, I know it's on city, but why am I here? It would make sense. If they weren't speaking, it'd be like, hello. It's such a vital point. It's such a vital it's a vital thing to the production.
Mm. Absolutely it is.
You can't take it away. But yeah, that's what I think, at least. But that's just me. I feel like other people would agree as well. Hopefully.
No, I think they would.
Yeah. So do you have anything upcoming, like any upcoming events that you're probably going to cast soon, or if you can't say, then by all means, then.
That you kind of beat me to it. So there is some stuff upcoming. So I did primarily for VCT, like Game Changers work. So I did that kind of for stage 2 and such.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say kind of one way or the other, but obviously for the Val circuit, stage 3 is going to be up and coming.
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of coming through as well. No dates or anything have been confirmed, but hopefully we come through, and then we will just kind of plug away at it. Casting is a bit 0 hours contracty, I would have to say, where sometimes there is just you've got to be ready kind of at a moment's notice, because sometimes you don't have like the most what would be the term, heads up on kind of some working. A lot of the times you will, if you're doing things like with the companies that do the games, like VCT, you'll be given obviously quite a bit of notice that that's the case. But if you're doing kind of smaller stuff, more community-led projects, or things that are just kind of done as passion projects, obviously you kind of need to have a free schedule just to be able to jump in at a moment's notice to do it. So there is some stuff definitely coming up in terms of the bigger scale. That is the stuff that I just can't say until obviously they're fully announced.
Yep, I gotta respect that. I like I said, I don't cross any boundaries, anything like that. But follow-up question would be, what drives you so much? Like, why do you work so hard? What is like the ultimate goal? Like, what drives you so much?
As someone that has adored video games since literally the age of 1, my first memory of my life is playing Devil May Cry, which is where the name obviously comes from, and where the tag comes from. Um, it was just always what I had fallen in love with, and I never really kind of watched much in terms of like I knew casting had existed, obviously, but I'd never really looked at any commentators or anything as kind of my, I guess, inspiration. I just really loved doing it, and whenever I started doing it, I think be it to kind of, yeah, to be a little bit soppy. It was actually my dad who was the one that really made me realize that I can do something special with this,
Yeah.
because he started telling me that he was learning the games I was casting kind of quickly. And whenever I learned that that's what I was being, is kind of like that stopgap for people to learn about games that they don't really play, or for me just to even talk about the games that I adore playing and how impressive they are, it just never went away. And it only made me want to learn more games. So like as much as kind of Valorant and Tekken would be kind of my main ones. I mean, I've casted Rocket League, I've casted Counter Strike. I have a very big flexible pool of games, and all of them I absolutely just adore. And seeing games played at the highest level as something that has gained a lot more respect and is nowhere near what it was kind of back in the mid noughties. But I did grow up where MLG was basically, at least from my experience, I did grow up kind of a little bit separated away over in Ireland, so there wasn't as much of a gaming scene. But MLG was kind of looked down upon and kind of not given the respect that it deserved back then. And while I think we're at a much better place there, I think that's what's kind of driven me is, no, this is a fantastic thing to do. Watching people play this at the highest caliber, regardless of game, regardless of genre or interest, is an incredibly entertaining thing. And being able to share that and being able to make that more accessible for more people means the world to me. And it's something that I don't think I'll ever stop doing.
Wow, that's fair play. What
Mm,
if you was like if you was to like change like anything you did in the past, like is there any like sort of regrets that anything you'll do differently, or are you just
mm.
happy with everything? Like in terms of decisions you made within your career, is there anything you would have done differently looking back on it?
It's very hard to say because every decision I've made has brought me here, and I am very happy with where I'm currently at. If there was anything to change up, I think it is just, and I wanna kind of say this as a bit more of inspiration to anyone that is maybe watching. It doesn't necessarily have to be casting, but professional players and such as well. Have more faith in yourself earlier on, and do not let yourself be discouraged from failing. It's tacky and everyone kind of uses that,
Yeah,
but I was terrified, particularly early in my career. I mean, again, I was so completely not disregarding, but I was quite dismissive of ever being able to actually make casting happen at all. Like that I would ever make it. Like I thought it would just be me casting over the 10 mans for my uni. It was my friend that literally sent me the message that was like, "Hey, there's this thing. Do like if you want to apply for it." And had he not sent me that, I would not be here. So my biggest regret would just be, if you do have that passion, find a way to kind of make it work, whether that is just create your own stuff and post it online,
yeah,
whether it is, kind of just make your artistry kind of work. Have faith in yourself that you are doing okay, and if it ends up it just doesn't work, you cannot look back and say that you didn't give it a try, that you didn't give it your all. It just didn't work out, and I very nearly didn't give casting give this my all, and I cannot imagine what my life would look like if I had not done that.
that's beautiful, man. That's a that's a
Mm.
that's
Thank
that's
you.
that's
Thank you.
that's a great story. I'll be honest. Um,
Thank you.
I I mean I've like you just kept going, and it's I
I do
mean
yap.
look where we are
It's
right now.
almost as if I do it for a living.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I that's great. That's actually really touching, to be honest. That's really
Mm.
nice. Um, I'm gonna delve into other things as well. Like,
Yeah, of course.
what is like your routine? Do you have like a routine before a game? So let's say you're casting a game. Let's say
Mm.
let's say today you have there's like an hour until the routine. Do you do vocal exercises or like what sort of things do you do like pre casting? Like do you do anything pre casting or?
I would say for the most part, it's just things that get the energy up. So I love my music. I absolutely adore my music. And we do go from anywhere to like literal smooth jazz to quite heavy to death metal. I try not to be someone that says I listen to everything, because immediately someone will be able to send like show me or make me listen to something that I'm like, actually that's not, that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
But for the most part, it is the music's kind of going, the excitement and the energy builds up, and I kind of let the adrenaline not necessarily take over, but it makes things a lot easier in terms of avoiding overthinking, especially for a caster at times. I'm not going to say who it was, but casting, sometimes you can say something that's maybe a little bit like maybe awkward or like can be misconstrued or something. And if you are not in your element, if you're not focused, if you're not in the zone, if you're not kind of going off of, that sort of adrenaline to kind of keep things going, you can snag yourself. You can catch yourself saying something, and you can maybe start like to worry that, oh, is this going to be construed this way? Or, oh, I'm worried that didn't come off the way that I had intended. The adrenaline and the music that I listen to, it means that I can just keep the process going, keep the flow going.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I forget actually what it was. It was a band. It was a band that had said this. I can't remember who it was, but they had pointed out that like bands for live performances make 10, 15 mistakes over the course of the show, but the audience don't know that.
All right, yeah,
The audience don't know that. They don't know that you weren't meant to say something. They don't know that you were meant to cut 5 seconds earlier. They don't know that the statement that you've said is, basically anything other than just relevant to the game. And if you stop yourself, you bring attention to it. If you stop yourself because you've said something that is maybe a little bit silly, don't get me wrong, it happens to us all. You say something silly. As long as you're able to kind of keep that momentum and that flow going, you'll be like 100% kind of covered, and the production will still be good. So I always, from that, to make sure the energy is high and to make sure I'm not in any way overthinking, or that I don't say something that I then, kind of start to mull over or start to second guess myself. The music's a really good thing for that for me.
yeah.
And it is also just getting a bit of games kind of running. So if I'm going to cast Val, I'll play one game of Val. If I'm going to cast Tekken, I'll run a set or two of Tekken, CS and such, kind of there. And then for the most part, it's just if I'm doing some chores or something, just to kind of stay productive in that regard.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said heavy metal. You listen to heavy
Mm.
metal. That would be like what Metallica or something or
Metallica, Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
We do get the kind of go, and then we go towards like if we're going for like anything heavier, we've got like Megadeth. Uh, anything kind of anything that's just fast paced and high tempo, especially because again, color caster, it's usually the faster paced, it's usually the higher tempo stuff that I'm operating under. It just helps me get into that mindset. If I'm going into because I do quite like my hybrid, and there's some people I work with that are just more comfortable in play by play.
Yeah.
So I have definitely done color in the past, and I will stick on something a little bit more kind of slower tone, whether that is like usually a good one will be Louis Armstrong for the Jazz. Genuinely will be a fantastic little kind of mindset or mindsetter to kind of go, okay, things are going to be a little bit more calm. The pace, the tone needs to be little bit lower,
Yeah.
because if I'm kind of yelling with like sometimes both casters yelling is really fun. It's really entertaining. Sometimes it can be a little bit overbearing as a viewer, and you do need that person to kind of calm things down, bring things back to a little bit of a tone. Because at the end of the day, if you're always at 11, it's the same as staying at 1. You want like a flexible kind of curve of the tone of the hype, because if everything that you're talking about is hype and the greatest thing that you've ever heard, nothing's hype. Nothing's the greatest you've ever heard, because you're giving that same gravitas.
Right. I was talking to someone one of my mates the other day. I don't really
Mm.
listen to Metallica, but he made sure that I understood like that the first 5 Metallica albums are good. Anything after that is abysmal.
I would not kind of agree with that fully, but I'm someone that very much listens to albums kind of beginning to finish. I'm not someone that listens to like songs or kind of
Yeah,
tracks in isolation. I'm also just a bit of a sucker for listening to an album because that's kind of the complete project and the
yeah,
artist work. I would also say that if you want to have your opinions on the later Metallic albums, by all means, please do. If you're not happy with them, I think some people may forget though that if you're an artist doing work for 30 years, regardless of what you're doing or creating, you're not gonna hit. You're not gonna hit every time. You're gonna have a weak album. You're gonna have a weak
yeah, yeah,
piece
yeah.
of art. You're
Of
gonna
course.
have, for me, I'm gonna have a weak cast. I'm gonna have a fair few weak casts. I think it's all kind of back towards that. If you've got the opinion of, oh, the Metallic album's bad, absolutely by all means, go for that opinion. You don't need to listen to it. If someone else really enjoys it, just let them have their fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll definitely like I don't believe it, but that's what he's told me. I've never listened to a
Mm.
Metallica song in my entire life.
You are
But
missing out, I would say.
yeah, I don't know, I'm not really a song guy, to be honest.
Valid.
I'm showing my playlist, and I have like five different genres or six different genres, six different languages. It's all over
Mm.
the place. I don't have one set. I don't really my knowledge doesn't and knowledge of songs doesn't really dominate on one sort of genre, if that makes sense. Um,
No, it does.
but not for me yet. It's I have multiple different genres. I like a lot of things, sort of thing.
Mm.
But when it comes to metal or anything, I'm not really knowledgeable. Like the sort of like songs. I know a couple groups, and that's about it. My knowledge doesn't really go that far. I'm not.
Valid.
I only know like Black Sabbath and Metallica. You got like, does AC/DC even count? I don't even know.
I'll give it. It's rock. This is another thing. To be honest, I might be a little bit more like you, Solid, where I do have a very kind of wide range of music, but I try not to kind of limit myself to the genre. Like as much
Yeah,
as the heavy metal stuff, like I did say, like I mean, I do listen to multiple different languages. I mean, if I'm going for just pure kind of metal or at least the heavy stuff that I would suggest, I mean, Iron Maiden has always been my go-to,
yeah, I see.
because of the pace and such. But I mean, if you want to again go for like something that I've always adored about music is there's a band called Two Cellos, if you've ever heard of them. Literally two cellist players. It's literally in the by the name, and a lot of what they do is covers and themes of like heavier, more rock stuff. Because the whole point is basically classical versus rock. Can they ever sort of mix? And these two with cellos make it sound absolutely stunning. So they do a cover of Iron Maiden's The Trooper. They do AC/DC's Thunderstruck. They do there's another massive one that they do Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit on there as well.
Ah,
So yeah, like they do a hell of a range, and the entire point is just, hey, we can make this sound really good with cellos. And to be honest, yes, they damn do. I was never in any way sort of classical music or kind of that inclined beforehand. After being introduced to them and just seeing what it could be done, I started to broaden my horizons because I was like, maybe I have been a bit too dismissive of music styles and genres just because it's not the metal that I usually listen to. And I think finding stuff like that's really, really good because there's millions of hundreds of millions of things out there.
yeah.
You really don't need to stick to just the one niche.
Okay. That's fair enough. I can't argue with that.
Mm.
I like I should definitely give Metallica a try, like you said. I've never listened to Metallica. Maybe I have, and I haven't actually.
You probably have,
Probably there
like,
has to be at
yeah.
least one. Like there's like
Uh,
one song I listened to.
for
Like
for whom the belt? Have you watched the movie Zombieland? Out of nowhere.
no, no,
If you've watched
never.
the film Zombieland, no. But they the opening for that is for whom the bell tolls. By Metallica. It's one of those Enter Sandman as well is probably another song that you have heard. I'm not going to give you my rendition of it because I fully accept my limits. But you've definitely kind of heard those two. The same with like Black Sabbath, you'll have heard Paranoid. You'll have heard Crazy Train, most likely.
Yeah.
There will be songs that have came up just
Okay.
because they're that popular.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got billions of streams, most
Mm.
likely. Before we conclude, I just want to ask you if you can. If not, it's fine.
Hmm.
Can you tell me your top five casters like across like including like you could do five and five like one color, one play by play, or you can mesh them together.
Mm.
It's up to you.
I mean, I would have to. So, I mean, because of the fact that just they're local, and they are people that I was fortunate enough to work with really recently, for kind of more local scene, I worked with Hazard JC and Cairo. Well, Hazard JC primarily, but him and Cairo Casts are doing quite a lot for the Val scene at the moment. More locally, Cairo also kind of gets respect, like for being like a Scottish caster for the UK. So big shout out to those two, just because I mean I've worked with them before quite a few times, and then the most recent time it was an absolute blast. So big shout outs to them. There is kind of my duo at the moment that I work with a decent amount is Blazy Bard, so I'll give him a big shout out as well and a big love to him. Volt. Oh, actually, hang on. Sorry, I'll go back. So, Haza and Cairo, they usually kind of go more hybridy. Cairo's usually tends to lean a little bit more play by play, and has a little bit more color, but they're both very fantastic at the hybrid. Blazy, he's usually my go-to for just a lot of work. Him and I do a lot of work together. Again, he's usually the color to my play by play. Same with a man called Volts. He's usually does a lot more work for kind of the Middle East side of the EMEA, because he's based in Egypt. But always an absolute pleasure to work with on that regard. And to be honest, there is probably a lot more that I kind of am forgetting, but Blazy Bar would be the kind of big one. And then I think my biggest for hype and in terms of just overall silliness, we can give a shout out to the Tekken squad for this, is Tasty Steve. And oh, he's not a Tekken caster anymore. He used to be. He casted I forget his name. He casted over the JDCR Lil Majin set in Tekken 7. That was like, yeah. If you know Tekken 7 at all, you know that set. You know that show at Evo.
That is mental.
Everyone, if anyone here is like kind of interested in Tekken, Evo 2017, 2018, JDCR versus Lil Majin. Who casted that? I can't believe I forget his name. Eris was his name. I think it was him. Eris. Despite the fact that he's actually that he's quite like he's got his kind of opinions that he makes very vocal, and of course he doesn't cast for the scene anymore. A man that was so hype and said absolutely ridiculous stuff that was just so entertaining and made the cast that much better. Again, if anyone hasn't seen that set, if you want to know how impactful casters can be and what great casting is, watch that set with his commentary with the audio on, and then just rewatch it again with the audio turned off. You'll feel night and day. Do it the other way around, actually. Watch it muted and then unmute it, and you'll suddenly realize the hype and the ecstasy and just how much that set meant for an entire region. It's cinema.
It's also the amount of gravitas the game had as well. It was literally like everyone was saying how bad King is and how King isn't great at all. And at that time, like it was like supposed to be dominated by like South Koreans, right?
Yes, Pakistan hadn't entered into the scene just yet.
Yeah, and then Lil Margin comes in, American comes in and just slays out JDC. Like he just lays him out. It is actually insane. Like I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I'm not sure if it's comparable, but it's. I don't know if you could put it up there with like even moment 37. I don't know if you could put it up there with that moment, but it's still it's not up there, but it's like even moment 37 is here. It's like, and it's just below it. I think it's just below it, as in JDCR and Lil Margin. That game was mental.
I mean, to be fair, I mean there will probably be, and this is genuinely true, there will be nothing in the fighting game circuit for probably another decade or so minimum that will rival the impact that Daigo Pari had from Street Fighter.
That's mental.
That's kind of insane. But again, casters and commentary, like it's all about the hype. It's the same as That Ain't Falco is one of the most ridiculous quotes from fighting games. That's from Melee. If anyone wants to look up Smash Bros. Melee, just look up That Ain't Falco. an event that doesn't mean much. It's like 20, 30 seconds long. It's a combo that's like kind of cool, but everyone is losing their minds and screaming, and the things that are being said are so ridiculous and so kind of out there that they are just so much more entertaining. I mean, again, for the JDCR Lil Majin match, I mean, Eris says he screams, "Look at the time," when there's like 3 seconds left, which the look at the time is insane. But even before that, like the line that he says is, he's from the future, he's already seen it. When JDCR starts coming back and Eris says he's from the future, he's already seen this. Oh, you're watching a film. You're watching like absolute cinema, because the hype is there. He has sold the belief that JDCR is on this comeback, and we're selling that it's really difficult for Lil Majin and how much this means. That's what fantastic commentary can be, and to bring that energy and that hype.
Yeah, 100%. I remember one thing, I just started laughing. One of the commentators was like, is this a dream? I just woke up, my alarm clock went off, and someone said I had to do the top 8. I was like, what?
Yeah. Oh, and that's it's so good whenever you get, and that's the thing, when you get the slightly more off the cuff. Oh, I feel like my alarm clock. I'm gonna have to go cast. Yes, that's. Oh, I can't. He casts with TSD Steve all the time as well. But yeah, he says that, and you're going like, oh, that's incredible stuff. I mean, what was the There was a Valorant kind of hype one recently. It's very specific, but there's a character, Phoenix. He like flashes, so like he throws out the flash. But the way he does it, he like flicks his wrist.
Yeah.
And there was an execute onto a site. He runs into one of the angles, not knowing someone from the other team's like ready there waiting for him. The person runs into him, and the Phoenix throws the flash. At the same time he throws the flash, one of his teammates fires a bullet over his head and shoots the other character in the head. But from his perspective, it looks like he just slapped her in the face, and she's just died. And like someone could say something, and I was like, and that's the thing, the hype is like, if I was casting that, I'd be like, oh, they're walking onto the site so dominantly, we're just slapping the opponents out of the way. This is our site, And that's the thing, you can build all these storylines, you can make these events that are already hype on their own, but casters in particular can bring those up to 11, can bring those. I mean, what inhuman reactions is a line that will be said in esports, in any games, basically for another, I'd say 60 years. And that's from Dota. You might not know where that line is from, but you've heard the line inhuman You've heard that. Everyone has heard that soundbite.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been amazing talking to you. We are getting to that time now.
No, yes, of course, yes.
But it's been a great conversation.
Likewise.
I'm kind of lost for words, but because it's actually been so fun, because like we both play Tekken, we play a bit of Valorant as well. We understand I understand a bit of history of like Tekken and Valorant, and you just made this a great experience. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on to it. It's been great.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Likewise, Solid. And I can imagine at some point this will likely speed on to us having a set or two of Tekken at some point, which I would be very down for, and sounds like an entertaining time. But yes, again, seriously, it warmed my heart that you had reached out. And it means the world to me that I was here. So likewise to yourself, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, brother. Is there any sort of like goodbye message you want to say before?
No, big shout out. Follow my man Solid here. He does good work. He keeps us all and he keeps us all busy. So please do. If you are at all interested, Maddante, Maddante Killer. Thankfully, I don't have to argue. I don't have to worry about that name getting stolen. On any sort of like social medias. I'm pretty comfortable that this one's not going to be taken. I say that. Watch as now it gets taken, because well, I've kind of jinxed it now, but no, it's been an absolute blast. A big shout out and big thank you all for having me, and stay safe and take care, everyone.
All right, thanks for coming. See ya.
Bye.